Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. And today we have a host of news regarding Xbox. Now, the FTC versus Microsoft trial was a doozy, and today we're getting a lot of the internal emails. Now, this is coming courtesy of Tom Warren over at TheVerge.com, and like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. So today we're going to talk about the Elder Scrolls skipping the PlayStation 5, Microsoft's reaction to the PlayStation 5 raising its prices, as well as Sony's real reaction to Microsoft purchasing Activision. Now, first off, we're going to start off with the Elder Scrolls. Now, it will skip the PlayStation 5. So the next version of Elder Scrolls is not coming until 2026. And according to documents from Microsoft in the FTC versus Microsoft case, it is not coming to the PlayStation. So as you can see, I have it up on the screen here. You can see Deathloop, Ghostwire, Fallout 76, the Elder Scrolls Online, Starfield, Redfall, and the Elder Scrolls. And as you can see, it is skipping the PlayStation 5. It's only going to be out on the Xbox and PC. Just like Redfall was just Xbox and PC, Starfield is Xbox and PC. So it's good to see that Microsoft is taking advantage of some of these IPs. Now, I've said it before, some of them will make sense just to provide it on Xbox and PC, and some other titles will make better sense putting it on all platforms. So I think Microsoft is leveraging their companies, or I should say their acquisitions here. It's going to benefit Microsoft, obviously. It's going to benefit Xbox. It's going to benefit Game Pass. Now, if you guys want to know more about the story and all the other details, I'll link it in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, next, let's move on to Microsoft's reaction to the PlayStation 5 announcement that they were raising the prices. Now, Microsoft's internal email shows that the Xbox executives were reacting to the strengths and weaknesses of the PlayStation 5 tech specs and Sony's price hike announcement. And once again, this is coming from TheVerge.com, courtesy of Tom Warren, and I will also link it in the description down below. Now, he goes on to say that Microsoft, as you would expect, followed Sony's reveal of the PlayStation 5 very closely. Sony announced the full PlayStation 5 tech specs in March 2020, which prompted an Xbox executive to provide Xbox chief Phil Spencer and Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella with a summary of Sony's console. Internal emails from the FTC versus Microsoft case reveal, then more than 2 years later, Microsoft also reacted to Sony's PlayStation 5 price increase. The emails show Liz Harman, the former head of platform engineering and hardware at Xbox, point out the strengths and weakness of Sony's PlayStation 5 specs compared to Microsoft's Xbox Series X. The PlayStation hardware lead Mark Cerny detailed the PlayStation 5 specs 2 days before Microsoft publicly announced its own Xbox Series X specs. Herman lists the variable GPU and CPU clock rates on the PlayStation 5 versus us running at higher sustained rates. Herman admits Sony has a clear advantage on the SSD performance with the PlayStation 5. Elsewhere, the 12 teraflops of performance versus the 10 teraflops was briefly discussed. Cerny emphasized the GPU teraflops and CU is not a good measurement of performance. We made the same point with Digital Foundry, but we do have a clear performance advantage with 12 versus 10 teraflops, wrote Herman. Now, as you can see, everything is down here. And I gotta say, after the launch of both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, both of the systems are relatively close. Now, the Xbox Series X, in some games, it outperforms the PlayStation 5. In some games, the PlayStation 5 outperforms the Series X. It kind of depends on the developers and the features that are being used. Now, as far as it comes to the SSD, I will admit that the PlayStation 5's SSD is faster than the one found in the Series X. But most of the time, it's not being utilized fully. Now, if it's a first-party title, of course, it's being utilized. We see the odd third-party title might take advantage of it and you'll get a couple of seconds quicker loading times on the PlayStation 5, but for the most part, it's not really making a big impact. I gotta say, both of these launches, because the specifications for the Xbox Series X with the 12 teraflops versus the 10 teraflops should have trounced the PlayStation 5, and apparently that is just not the case. A lot of these games are close. Just like the PlayStation 5's SSD, it's a lot faster in theory than the Xbox Series X SSD, yet we're not seeing a big divide in games. Some games load maybe 2-3 seconds faster. Some games, especially the backwards compatible games on the Series X are running better than the PlayStation 5. So it's kind of a wash. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm disappointed that a lot of developers are not using the features of the Series X. They're not using the full suite of DX12 ultimate features. They're not using VRS. They're not using FSR hardly. We're starting to see more games adopt FSR now, but not as many as I'd like to see. Now, we know FSR 3 is coming, and I hope it's not a case once again that developers do not use this technology. I personally don't think so because FSR 3, it really does increase the performance, and these consoles both need it. Now, there's a misconception that this is only going to be available on the Xbox because it was announced by AMD coming to the Xbox console, but this will also be available on the PlayStation 5. It does support this technology. I just want to put that out there because I see a lot of misinformation. Now, in internal emails, Microsoft was also quick to react to Sony's PlayStation 5 increase last year, despite not hiking Xbox prices immediately. Xbox CFO Tim Stewart emailed Xbox chief Spencer and Microsoft CFO Amy Hood earlier in the morning of Sony's announcement in 2022, noting that the Xbox team had anticipated this and are moving quickly towards a plan now that we've seen confirmation. There is discussion in the email chain, which is heavily redacted, but it appears that Spencer wants the company to remain gamer-focused with any price increases. Amy Silverman, who at the time was head of Microsoft Consumer Sales and Marketing, responds with all good points. Let's be gamer-obsessed here as we have not gotten out of the woods. We know this could be our time to win fans versus loss. Silverman is clearly referring to the Xbox sales being behind PlayStation 1's and not wanting to lose any momentum by immediately following Sony's price hike with Microsoft's own increase in Xbox prices. Now, as you all know, Microsoft did eventually increase the price of the Xbox console. Now, it was said that they weren't going to increase the prices, but with everything that's going on right now in the market, I understand why they raised the prices. Now, some of the things in the chain are just costing more. Now, obviously, Microsoft doesn't want to be losing money on every single console that it sells in its markets, so it makes sense for them to raise the price. Now, of course, nobody likes to see a price increase, but it is what it is. Now, Spencer also complains that the PlayStation 5 is forcing a Horizon Zero Dawn bundle for $50 additional, and he goes into that, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, overall, I gotta say, I understand that some fans were disappointed that Microsoft raised the prices on the Xbox, but it is business at the end of the day, and they are out to make money. They're not here to make friends. And if they're selling their console at a loss, of course, you would want them to get some of that money back. And a price increase in some instances is the only way that that can be accomplished. Now, Microsoft is doing pretty good right now. This fall season, they have a host of games coming out, so I do expect things to get better for Xbox. Now, we're going to move on from that. We're going to talk about Microsoft's plans to bring PC cloud games in their cloud service. Now, this is coming once again from Tom Warren over at TheVerge.com. I guess they're purging all of these internal documents today, so we're just going to report on it. Now, Microsoft is planning to stream PC cloud games. Now, what this could mean for like someone that owns an Xbox One is that you could get higher quality games running at a higher resolution with a higher frame rate on your Xbox One, on your Xbox Series X, on your Xbox Series S. And this is my argument. I've made this before. The Xbox Series S, it's not as capable as the Series X. Now, somewhere down the line, they're going to have to stop supporting the system. One way to keep customers satisfied is to allow them to play these games via the cloud. Now, if Microsoft is planning to bring PC cloud games, imagine that you're going to be getting 60 FPS streaming through the cloud at a high fidelity. So that is a win for me, in my opinion. Now, we're going to go through the article here, and it goes on to say that Microsoft is planning to stream PC games over the cloud. Internal emails from the FTC versus Microsoft case show that Microsoft currently streams games through its xCloud service, but it's limited to the Xbox titles as the service runs specialized Xbox Series X chips. Microsoft has been working on leveraging its Azure servers to stream PC games over Xbox Cloud Gaming. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella emailed Xbox chief Phil Spencer, Carmen Condry, head of cloud gaming at Microsoft, and Sarah Bond, head of Xbox Creator Experience, in July 2021 after rumors emerged of Google turning Stadia into a white label cloud gaming service for developers to run their games on. Now, I'm not going to go through everything that was said here, but it was very interesting that Microsoft said that they were very surprised that Stadia was not more successful. Now, they also say that they were watching the other competitors such as Amazon, but really their true competitor is Nvidia with their cloud gaming service. And I gotta say, Nvidia right now, they do have the best cloud service. Now, I don't know if you've used their service, but their games are running at 4K 120 hertz. Now, when you have such a high resolution and such a high frame rate, the latency is cut down. I should say it's more to do with the frame rate. Now, when it's running at 120 FPS through the cloud, the latency is a lot lower. So you're probably getting latency at around maybe 60 FPS, even though it's playing at 120 FPS. But the latency at 60 FPS is really good. So overall, I gotta give it out to NVIDIA. They have the best image quality. They have a lot of titles. If you own your titles, you can play them on their service. And like you all know, during this whole FTC versus Microsoft case, these games from Microsoft are also coming to their service. In fact, the games are on there right now. Once the Activision deal is finalized, those games will also make its way to NVIDIA's service. So overall, I gotta say, I do like Microsoft's direction here. I think streaming PC games via the cloud is the way to go for console players so they can achieve a 60 FPS with a high fidelity of graphics. Now, the next piece of news, it's a little bit smaller, but Phil Spencer actually purchased a PlayStation 5 last year, and it was revealed via an internal email that he was not happy that the game came bundled with it. It was a forced bundle. Anyways, he goes on to say that Sony has forced a bundled Horizon for a $50 added price for a while now. I bought my PlayStation 5 2 weeks ago, and that was the only option available, that bundle at $549. Now, a lot of gamers are saying, oh my God, how did Phil get a PlayStation 5? Why is he playing a PlayStation 5? And I gotta say, that's just absolutely ridiculous. I think that all gamers, if possible, should own all of the systems because we are gamers. We want to play games. And if you want to play games, you need to own all the systems. I'll give you an example. I see a lot of people throwing shade at Spider-Man. I saw a lot of people throwing shade at Starfield. And I just don't understand. If you're not interested in the game, that's fine. Say your piece and be done with it. If you have no interest in playing the game, how are you criticizing the game if you've never tried it? And I saw a lot of that with Starfield, and I'm seeing it once again with Spider-Man. And I've always said, give credit where it's due. A good game is a good game no matter what platform it's on. Now, Phil Spencer, he's a gamer. He actually plays games. He's not like some of these other executives that don't play games at all. Phil is an avid gamer, and of course, he wants to enjoy all games. And if you want to do that, you're gonna have to own the competition. You're gonna have to own a PlayStation. You're gonna have to own a Nintendo Switch. It's just the way it is. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. Let the man play what he wants. I own a PlayStation as well. And every time I talk about PlayStation, some Xbox guys, they seem to get upset about it. And I just don't understand that. I play games. Yes, I prefer the Xbox brand, but that doesn't mean that I can't like anything else. And if I want to be a true gamer and I want to talk about games in general, I have to play all of them. I can't be so one-sided and just play Xbox games and then criticize PlayStation games. How can I criticize something that I don't play? It just doesn't make sense. This is also another sneaky method in which Sony increased the price of the PlayStation 5 because these bundles were forced. There was no single PlayStation 5 SKU available in the market. You had to get the Horizon Zero Dawn bundle. So this is why Phil Spencer was also annoyed. Now, the last story that I'm going to talk about today is the email interaction between Jim Ryan and Chris Deering, which is the former head of PlayStation, and they were talking about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. Now, if you were following my FTC versus Microsoft coverage, then you kind of know about this, but today we get the full unredacted email, and I gotta say, it is the veil being lifted. Now, you really see how these executives think about Microsoft and their opposition. Now, of course, these guys are very professional, so when they see each other, it's all cordial. But behind the scenes, we're really seeing that Sony and Microsoft are engaged in a vicious battle. Now, this was from Jim Ryan. This is his internal email, and it was sent to Chris Deering. Now, it starts off saying, I think that was overdone. That said, it's almost 130. I think it was a bit toppy. Okay, then I shouldn't worry about Sony's stock dropping by 12%. Cheers. It's not an Xbox exclusivity play at all. Now, this is Jim Ryan. He goes on to say they're thinking bigger than that. They have the cash to make moves like this, and I spent a fair bit of time with both Phil and Bobby over the past day. I'm pretty sure we will continue to see Call of Duty on PlayStation for many years to come. We have some good stuff cooking. Keep your eyes peeled. Now, this is a stark contrast to what he said in court. In court, it was said that they were not sure whether or not this game was going to remain on the PlayStation. That was the whole reason that this guy was flying around and crying to regulators. Yet an internal email reveals that's not the case. They were not worried about it at all. I'm not complacent. I'd rather this hadn't happened, but we'll be okay, more than okay. Now, Chris Deering replied, Phil Spencer was on CNBC saying the acquisition would cement Microsoft as a player in the mobile games. Strikes me more of a king of play than Call of Duty. Now, king of play is Candy Crush, so that's their mobile games. And he goes, but King sold to Bobby for $5 billion and has now grown to be worth $50 billion. It was an Xbox exclusivity play. Spencer could have locked up Microsoft console exclusivity for the next 3 COD releases for maybe $5 billion. The major cash out will lure most of the talent to take money and run as fast as their contracts will allow, leaving Microsoft with a very gnarly management challenge. If this was a play to end the run of the PlayStation 5, etc., I think it was massively overvalued and not a meaningful succeed. I guess Microsoft can piss away that kind of valuation without being more harmed than help. But I'm not losing a wink of sleep over the future of our baby. I hope you agree. Cheers. Signed, Chris. P.S. They would have been better off announcing a new electric car. That's just insane. You can just tell that these guys are not worried about Microsoft. So they were up in court just lying, just to make Microsoft's life miserable. And they say Microsoft should have announced an electric car. I don't know, but I do remember Sony actually announced an electric car. So I don't know what that's all about, but I think the acquisition is good. I think Mans is in his feelings here. I gotta be honest with you. And I think they're just trying to save face. This was not a good thing for them. It was not. This acquisition is definitely going to help Microsoft. It's going to help the Xbox brand. It's going to help Game Pass. And they know this. And it's also going to make Sony compete more. They're going to have to start bringing out more titles. Now, this season, they only have Spider-Man coming out. Microsoft just released Starfield, and Forza is coming out. We also have Lies of P coming to Game Pass. So Microsoft has a pretty stacked lineup this holiday season, and Sony doesn't. And when this Activision acquisition is finalized, hopefully this year, because we've been waiting a long time, and I don't want to be like 62 years old still talking about this acquisition. So hopefully it will get done sooner than later. But once it's done and those games arrive in Game Pass, I really do believe it's going to give Microsoft an advantage. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think about everything today. I know it was a huge list of topics. I know it was a little bit longer than most of my videos, but I want to know what you guys think about the next Elder Scrolls skipping the PlayStation. Do you think this is a good move? If you're a PlayStation player, are you upset that this game will not be coming out at release on the PlayStation consoles? Also, I want to know what's your thoughts on Microsoft kind of overhyping their features, and as well as Sony overhyping their features, because the SSD, it's really not all that Sony made it out to be. And let's just be honest, the Xbox Series X, although on paper it's a more powerful system than the PlayStation 5, we're not really seeing a lot of games that demonstrate this. I also want to know, what are your thoughts on Microsoft bringing PC cloud games to the xCloud service? Do you think this will help the Xbox Series S in the future when it starts to get phased out? Do you think it's just a good thing overall so they can compete with Nvidia? And also, what do you think about the hypocrisy as you see this internal email stating that they were not worried about Call of Duty leaving the PlayStation? Anyways, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.